I'm going to call the meeting to order, 6:32. As far as I know, Julie is coming, so she'll pop in hopefully momentarily. No public comment, no members of the public are present. So the next item on the agenda would be to read and approve the minutes of the December. Oh, I wrote November on here, didn't I? I apologize. The December 2024 meeting.
I want to thank Karen for her corrections and additions.
Yeah,
And-
thank you.
I don't know if anybody got a chance to watch what Sherry sent out, but we need to do, because this is a remote meeting, you need to do a roll call vote when you approve things. So I would like to potentially propose, after you vote on this, that we combine the voting to my statistics and my budget as a one voting item instead of voting on them separately. They're on the same sheet and we tend to talk about them together. So it's just a thought to
We did that
approve
last
that
month,
worksheet I
actually.
sent out.
We did it last month, didn't we? I thought it was sort of accidental that it happened, but we did it that way. But let's do the minutes first, all right? Anybody want to move to accept the minutes as you received them and as revised?
Sure, I move to accept the December minutes as written and revised.
Thank you, Carol. So it's low risk to second, folks. Anybody want a second?
Sherry will second.
Jerry will second. Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Yes,
All right. Any
So you
objections?
technically need to do a roll call vote because it's an online meeting. Tom Mullen just shared that with the video that Sherry Dalton
Oh,
sent out
okay.
for all of
I'm
us to
sorry. You
watch
just
the
said
open
that,
meeting
Karen,
law.
didn't you? All right, Carol, I'm gonna, in the order I see you, I'm calling on you.
uh,
Carol, yes.
yes,
Susan, yes. Sherry?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes,
Maureen?
Abstain. I wasn't here.
Karen? No, you don't vote. Julie?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, and Christina, you weren't here either, so you would be an abstention. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so now the financial report, which Karen sent out yesterday, I believe.
Yeah, so the financial report, you could see like I know we're halfway through the fiscal year and we haven't spent halfway of our budget, but a lot of that is intentional because we are being pretty frugal so that we have money available when our renovations are complete and we need to purchase some things that would be for the upstairs new space. So that's intentional that there's some money left in there. But we're on track. I'm not concerned about anything budget wise. And I just wanted to point out, if you're curious why I haven't spent much and there's so much left, that's why.
you anticipated my question, so thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments or concerns about the financial? All right, I move we accept the financial report as presented.
So moved.
Who
Guys,
seconds?
that
I'm sorry, I didn't see who second.
Maureen second.
Okay, thank you.
Uh, just raise your hand if you're in favor.
Aye.
Do I have to do a roll call on this, Karen?
According to Tom Mullen, yes, I'm sorry to
Yes.
cause more work,
It should-
but
All right,
I
you
watched
said
the
all this.
instructions and yes,
I
you did.
didn't absorb it. I'm so sorry. Okay, Carol,
Yes,
Susan, yes. Sherry,
Yes.
Jim,
yes,
Maureen,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Christina.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, financial report is accepted. And then the program report, I just want to say that I am so happy to be seeing the unique numbers or the, unduplicated count, Karen. Thank you. I hope that's not a terrible hassle to get those numbers.
Yep, nope, not at all.
So any questions, comments, concerns?
So it's
that
about
aren't-
expected for December because the numbers are lower, but we have instructors who take holiday vacation. So when you have one of our most popular instructors out for 2 weeks, that definitely decreases your numbers because that's 10 exercise classes. Otherwise, we had really good numbers for other things, and it's always quieter around here the holiday week with just people are with their families away doing things. So the numbers I thought were pretty strong for considering the low instructor, 2 instructors on vacation and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
holiday season.
Yeah, it was. Okay.
The cold isn't helping anything either. That keeps people away, but we've had an okay crowd.
This month so far.
I think this is the time I can say on Tuesday, we had our first artist walk-in and 2 ladies joined me. That's a start. And they
Yeah.
were texting and calling their friends as we were sitting there and, you know, creating and conversing on Converse, the artist walk-in. And I hope that each week it will grow just a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's a nice addition to the programming. It's a nice way for people. It's really kind of the unstructured atmosphere that we've been looking to add, of free to just come in without it having to be an instruction or something like that. So I think it was a nice addition. Thanks, Sherry. Welcome
happy.
to Julie's little one.
So happy that started, Sherry. Thank you. Who's here? Look who came to visit us.
That's the cutest little boy. Is that,
His hair is pretty
no,
red,
is that a little
Julie.
boy? Yes. Yeah. He's
Wanna say
a
hi, Cameron. You're interrupting the meeting.
pretty boy.
Oh,
We allow
how-
that kind of interruption.
Yeah, this is a great kind of interruption. Look at
Yeah,
that red hair.
absolutely.
So he's gotten so big. Gosh. Gosh. Any comments or any other questions or comments or about the program report? Program participation report? That's what I call it. Good.
Have people been getting the January newsletter? I added you to the email list, so I don't know if you got it via email or if I need to check into re-adding you.
I get it. I get it from the publisher when it's put out initially. You know,
Okay.
however you signed up with CPI or whatever it's called.
Okay. If anybody needs it, just let me know and I can make sure that we add you onto the email. I tried to add you all, but if you're not there, then we can add you again in case it got dropped or something.
Okay.
Am I on my
Okay, so-
director's report?
Not yet, but you're going to
Okay.
be. But I just want to say something because I meant to say it at the beginning. This isn't for the minutes, but I just, thank you all again and thank everybody. And I'm glad that we were all there, able to be there in one way or another for Mary Ann. And her, the death of her husband and the contributions. And I did, we got the gift certificates to her. And I guess she came back to work yesterday, Karen, right? One day. And then, or Monday.
She's here this week. Yep.
Yeah, she's here this week. So anyway, thank you, everybody, for responding so quickly and having ideas and suggestions and everything. We're on the director's report now.
All right. So Monday night, I'm going to be attending the town council meeting. They are voting on the renovation project upstairs. I believe they are voting on whether they're going to approve to order the windows that we have the mock-up for or not. So there's been a lot of discussion on the windows. The current mock-up that we all like the most, they are the modern vinyl windows. It's kind of like a double hung, but the whole thing is not double hung. It's like the bottom half of it. So it's much lighter and easier to actually put up and down, which I think the seniors will like so they can open the windows. If they don't go with those windows, originally the Historical Commission wanted the wooden windows. The wooden windows are significantly more expensive. And we have a couple of windows upstairs that are newer that haven't really stood the test of time, the wooden windows. One of them, for example, I was showing one of the counselors this week and I couldn't even close it. I had to have him help me close it. So I'm hoping, with all respect to the building and maintaining the integrity of the building, I think the new mock-up, with the exception of the fact that it's vinyl and not wood, maintains the character. It's the same shape. It's the same setup, really. It's the modern vinyl. So I am going to the town council meeting on Monday in case anybody has any questions. I don't think I'm pitching anything, but if anybody has any questions about it, I am in support of the new windows. I think it's a safer thing for seniors to be able to open and close the windows. I don't know which way it will go. So if the windows don't approve, I'm not sure if that means the old windows will stay in place or they'll be able to find the money to order the new windows. And for the minutes, I would appreciate this just being a quick summary. We talked about the windows and not into great detail.
Sure,
If
I'm
that's okay,
just putting
Sherry.
down that you're going to be at the town council to answer any questions about renovation, and you hope they will approve the new windows, new vinyl.
Perfect. Well,
That's it.
no, I don't want to put that. I think for the seniors, that's the better bet, but I'm trying to be respectful of other commissions who are not in favor of them.
Okay.
Safety
Well,
wise
just,
and ease for the seniors, I think they are a nice fit because it'll be easier for the seniors to open.
okay.
And I do
Yeah.
believe that they blend in as well as you could expect for a new window into an old building. So I would invite anybody who wants to come by to see the windows to come in and see the windows. I mean, I'm only one person, so I don't want to, people have very different ideas. So I'm trying to be respectful of that. I think that they look very similar. It keeps the shape, it keeps the ease, and it will be easier for seniors to open the windows. And I think the seniors will like to have the ability to open the windows to let fresh air in. And the big wooden ones are incredibly heavy because it's the whole bottom of the window. And I could not get it closed. And for the most part, I think I'm fairly strong that I can usually close windows. And Bob Vincent had to help me close it.
It's a safety issue too. It's a safety and a health issue for circulation if people can't open windows.
Right.
And more electricity cost or whatever the ventilation system is powered by, if there's windows that don't open.
I
And the
think the new
vinyl
ones
will
will
be
stand the
easier
test
to
of time
maintain.
more too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think for the integrity, for the rotting around the windowsills and all of that, there's a lot of benefit to having the newer modern windows. But I appreciate the input that we're trying to maintain the integrity of the building to the best of our ability. And I think that these do a nice job of that. So I will be at town council on Monday night, and I will know at the next meeting, unless any of you are there, what the status is for the project, because that's the biggest key for finishing upstairs. They are actively working on the floors. They finished the third floor, and we've moved down to the second floor for refinishing the hardwood floors. The third floor looks absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait for you all to see it. And I believe the second floor is going to absolutely look amazing as well. So the grids are in place for the drop ceilings already. They're working on the floors. Some of the painting has been done. The bathroom can be done fairly quickly. So everything's in place. The windows are the biggest key. And if they approve the ordering of the windows, those will be ordered. And then our timeline for opening will really be based on if we're getting new windows, when the new windows are ready, so we can open it with everything completely done. And I want to open ahead of any of the pieces.
What's the, do you know the lead time on the windows, Karen? Like the wooden windows versus the vinyl windows? I mean, and I'd like to say that I went upstairs and looked and I thought the windows looked great, like the vinyl windows. They really look nice. So hopefully.
I'm not sure of the lead time because they're all special builds. So I'm not sure. I'll check in with Chris to see if he knows. Over the holidays we had looked, but because of the holidays, I believe the main window guy was on vacation, so we couldn't get an answer for him. But they are a special build, and I can't remember how long it took. It wasn't a horrible amount of time. The first window they really didn't like, and that one had the bottom with a crank out, and it had a big thick white bar across it. So I agree, you could really stood out. The new one you can really barely tell, but I think it was a month or two from the time that we said we don't like this one, can we order one that looks more like this, that they were able to produce it. And there's a lot of windows. I can't remember the total number. I'd have to go count, but there's a lot. So I anticipate it would at least be a couple of months.
Mm.
Yeah, construction's been really slow, even for us. So ordering things, but hopefully.
Maybe by spring we can have a nice spring fling in our new space, maybe. So that's the biggest thing going on around here with the renovation project. The newsletter is out. We're looking really at forecasting for our spring programming. We don't do a lot of the bringing presenters and classes in January and February with the weather. We just don't get the crowds. People don't come. So we want to hold off until that. In the spring, we're looking at having Delvina Theater Company come back. Over the summer, we want to use some of our new space also to potentially have this woman, Cheryl Fay, who does different shows, come in for a theater show for the seniors. So we're looking at future programming and, of course, bringing in more classes and partnering with Melrose Wakefield to bring in some of the aging and balance classes in person and then offer maybe some hybrid stuff. I have a meeting with Sherry Dalton tomorrow to go over our Zoom setup that we have so that we could potentially host hybrid meetings. And that is something I'm curious if anybody in this group, if we had a hybrid meeting, if anybody would want to come in person or if everybody prefers to have it just remote.
I would, well, it depends on the weather. Like tonight, I would prefer to be on Zoom, but other times I would happily come to a meeting, but I know that's not easy for everybody.
I've only been on the council since we've been virtual, but did more town participation used to happen when we were in person?
No, I'd say no.
No, I would come, Karen.
Okay.
I would come.
As would I.
Okay, then I will check in with Sherry to see once we have once she gives us the blessing, if we're allowed to convert to having hybrid meetings or if we still are on hold for that. But if we
Yeah, that's-
are, then we can set that up for either February or March, whenever we want to start.
I'd be definitely, I mean, I guess we have to anyway, but hybrid, I think is still an important component to allow people to be part of this group that can't, spend the extra hour or two in going to and from and all that. So,
If it
No.
was, if we have hybrid movies, I guess meetings, it would be at town hall, correct? Because they have the system they are set up in the
So
boardroom.
we have a system here, we call it the Jumbotron because it's this ginormous TV on wheels that we move around, but it actually has the capability to do a hybrid meeting, so it's Zoom
Okay.
capable. So we'd be able to do it right here at the senior center.
Okay, that would be great.
We just
Either
need
way,
to
I
get it
live
set up.
walking distance from either one, so for me, it's no biggie.
Before the pandemic, meetings were at town hall that's where I went
Yeah.
to my first, before the pandemic started, we had meetings at town hall. Okay, all right, so anything else on the director's report, Karen, that you'd like to?
No,
out?
things I'm working on right now. I appreciate we'll take some time on the age friendly tonight. And I'm also working on my year-end reports, one for the town and one for the executive council on elder affairs. So those are the big projects I'm working on the next month or two.
Just on programming and thinking ahead to the summer, one of the things that we talked about earlier in the fall, and may tie into the good neighbor, into the age-friendly report, is, the commission, gosh, what is it called? The Mass Coalition to End Loneliness, or for Community Engagement and Loneliness. The Good Neighbor Day, there is a plan underway to celebrate another Good Neighbor Day, which we did talk briefly about maybe trying to do something this year. And that's in August, September time period. So that may be something, and I can give you more information on that if that's something you want to put on the look-see list.
Yeah, we can put that on the calendar so we can look for it
Okay,
and put it in
good,
the
yeah.
newsletter and try and come up with something.
Right, and
Definitely.
then the ageism, anti-ageism day, which is October, we're jumping ahead there, but that might be something we want to do something for too.
Sounds good.
Okay, a motion to accept the director's report?
Sherry says, I move to accept the director's report.
Okay,
Seconded, Carol.
Carol seconds. All in favor?
Roll call vote.
Oh, roll call vote. I'm gonna go the other way this time. Christina,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes,
Sherry,
Yes.
Susan, yes. Carol?
Yes.
Thank you all. All right, we've accepted the report. Housing production, anything new, Carol, from last month that you told us?
No, I think I told you how many surveys were back.
Right,
Had I told you that, and that they had missed out on really the target audience? Most of the people who responded were single family owners. I couldn't remember if I had shared the fascinating factoid that the median price home in Wakefield is $805,000. And in order to buy one, you need to be earning $272,000. And unfortunately, or fortunately, the median income is only $125,000, which is, not a bad median income. They anticipate that over 50% of renters are struggling, cost burdened, meaning they pay more than 30% of their income for rent. And that represents about 3,000 households. So that's, really pretty, significant.
Is it 3,000 households are renting in town?
No, they're, 3,000 households are cost burdened. So 50%, yeah, I don't know the number of renters. 50% of renters are struggling. 3,000 households are cost burdened, meaning they're paying more than 30% of their income for rent, although the average, rent for a 2-bedroom was 2,474. That seemed low. I'm not, you know what I mean? I thought it was gonna be higher. So, a lot of work to be done. And as you may have seen in the news today, I don't know if it was in the Globe, I saw it in the Boston Business Journal. The, highest court has upheld the housing laws, although they now have to be rewritten. So this was relative to the town of Milton suing the state and
The
saying
MBTA, yeah.
right, the MBTA, they lost, but they said they all have to be rewritten. So while that's going on, it's going to be difficult to enforce. So that's just an aside to the housing production impetus. So more
Yeah.
to come.
Do you have another meeting scheduled? Is there something?
Yes, the next meeting is, it's the 21st, 1/25, 1/21/25, excuse me.
I'm sorry, Sherry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, I had a comment about the average for 2-bedroom apartment. That's gonna go up because more and more of the 2-bedroom apartments are going to be in those newer, fancier. Whereas previously, there were a lot of large homes in Wakefield that had apartments. That's the only thing I think that moderated it, that there were family homes and they might have had a duplex or a triplex and they rented. But the new apartments, I am seeing, when they say, I'll get a thing that says senior apartment available, affordable, and I look at what they think is affordable and I gasp.
On Facebook today, the Facebook community group, there was a Wakefield community group, somebody in Greenwood somewhere, I didn't recognize the house, has a 2-bed, nice, there were pictures, nice, nice 2-bedroom, but nothing exceptional. $2,800, and you pay your own gas and your own electricity, of course, but your own heating also you pay it, and it's washer dryer hookups, but no washer dryer. 2,800.
And that's an apartment in a private home.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Might be
think that
legal.
2474 is gonna rise considerably in the months to come.
So how's the more affordable housing group doing, Maureen?
So we had one meeting in December. And we're scheduled to have a meeting. I think we're trying to meet next week on Wednesday. But so we had just a quick meeting. We had an update on the RAP program, which is the Wakefield Renters Assistance Program for security deposits and moving costs. So she had approved a few folks, and she had a few other applications that were in the process. So we were able to help a few people with that. And the other thing is, I think it had to go before the town council, but they were still looking at joining that affordable housing kind of coalition with some other neighboring towns for a 40B consultant. So that I think had to go before the town council. There's $15,000 for that we approved, but I think they have to approve it too. And then we've approved a memorandum of understanding for the ARPA funds, to earmark those ARPA funds that we got from the federal government. And that was it. The meeting was kind of brief. So like I said, we're looking to meet on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Could you
Sherry.
please speak, say not the acronym, but the actual words for ARPA fund?
ARPA?
ARPA, yes.
ARPA, what is it? American Relief, ARPA.
Oh,
something
I
app.
have to Google it. Hold on.
Have
I
to
always like
Google it.
get
Yeah,
stuck.
we're all Googling it.
Opera. It's American
Rescue plan.
Rescue
Oh, the
something?
Plan.
rescue
There
plan,
it is.
yes.
There it is.
Yeah.
that's
Act.
it.
I don't-
Okay, so those
American
funds are
Rescue
being,
Plan Act.
okay, those funds are being spent currently.
Well, we had to, promise to spend them. I think that was about $200,000. So we signed something, they were okay if you signed an MOU, saying you had plans for them, and the RAP program is what's planned for those funds.
Okay, so the expenditures are in the works.
Right, but we just had to kind of say we have plans for them. We didn't have to
Okay.
have them spent.
The MOU is, anybody that needs to sign it has signed it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I think
Okay,
that
so it's
went
been
through town
approved.
hall.
It's been,
Yeah.
so that money's been approved to use for the raft program, the
Right.
rental assistance program. Okay.
Yeah, and it'll probably take a while for us to spend that kind of money, and like I said, it's been moving, we're referring people to it. I think the word is getting out about it. The application is a little bit cumbersome, as all applications are for, funds and assistance, so, but I think Sam's helping people, and we would certainly help people too.
And Sam Bing, just keep
Oh,
us.
Sam Elliott, she's town hall. She's in the Affordable Trust, and I don't know exactly what her title is, but
She's the town planner.
the town planner, that's her
Mhm.
title.
Maureen, has there been any discussion about potentially in the future looking to use some of the grant funds for people who may need to make their home ADA compliant or build a ramp or do something to help? I'm looking at the age-friendly stuff. That would be a nice addition.
I did bring that up. So, and I didn't get any, I think we were gonna add it to the agenda to
Okay.
discuss further. You did email me, I think, before the last meeting, Karen, so I did bring it up. I forgot about that, sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
It seemed to be, we needed to just look into it a little bit more.
Mhm.
And there might be other resources for things like that, I guess. I don't know. You don't know of any other resources for things like that?
No, and I mean, like there's raft for rental assistance. So I was hoping that they might still consider it, even if there are some things out there. Since
Well, we talked about how that is affordable because you're trying to keep people in their homes.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
make it affordable so that you can adapt their homes so they can stay in them.
Absolutely. And it's actually a big part of our age-friendly plan. So it would be a nice way to support the age-friendly plan with from a town, outside of us. So supporting our age-friendly ideas.
I will, haven't seen the agenda yet, so I'll have to, maybe she'll send out the agenda tomorrow and I'll look to see if it's on that.
And I'm
Good.
actually
That's a
sitting
good
down with
idea.
Sam on Friday because she's going to help me with the age-friendly
Oh,
part
okay.
of this. So I will make myself a note too to also ask her about that when we're going over the housing piece.
Right, and that is just on an aside, at the Housing Authority for the state public housing program, they just came out with, they want to be able to provide some funding to the housing authorities when units are vacant to make them more ADA, like for bars and tub cuts and things like that. So I think the state is moving in that direction, so this is a good idea too.
That's great.
It is good, and we typically do that for folks anyways when they ask us, but it's nice to know that the state might provide some funding for that. I mean, our apartments are so tiny and, whatever we can do to make it easier.
You say we typically do. You're talking about the
Oh, the
Wakefield Housing
housing
Authority.
authority,
Yeah,
yeah,
for your
sorry.
properties. For
But
housing.
it's kind of the same
Yeah.
idea, like making it
Yeah.
so that people can age in place,
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah, there's not a lot out there for help that I found for people, Habitat for Humanity, but they can only do a certain
Yeah.
amount.
For
So
private
it's-
homes.
Yeah, so there's not a whole ton of options.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice.
That's a great idea.
On the housing note, I was reading about the new laws for the accessory dwelling units. The less restrictive laws have passed. It's going to take a little while for them to be implemented, but I was thinking it'd be nice, and I'm happy to educate myself because I know next to nothing about it. But even some of the seniors are doing a program for people who might want to do that to their home. And if, I'll keep an eye out for whether there's any assistance going to be coming along from somewhere about that, because a lot of seniors have big houses that could, with some creativity. So maybe there'll be an architect or something who would want to donate his or her time to provide some input. So more on that as I learn a little bit more.
I saw a really good item on the news the other night about someone who had a larger home, which she sold to her children, and her children in turn built an appropriate accessory housing that so they can age in place next to their own children and grandchildren because they
Nice.
had enough land. I think there aren't that many houses in Wakefield that have enough land so that you can get the variance, the clearance. I know I have 7 foot on either side of my house. That's it. So there's no way we could do it, but and there are not that many houses, but perhaps in some of the more suburban areas of Wakefield, that is an option.
That might be something for the Housing Trust to talk about, you know, possibly if there is a small grant that we can make available for people to, you know, either like hire a designer, or I don't think we could pay for it, you know, it would,
Right.
but maybe help with some design fees or.
Yeah.
That's great. I mean, people can convert garages, you know, or things that already exist, or do things in the second floor of their house. So that'd be great, Maureen. Maybe as we learn more, we can find a way to offer that option at least to some people who might be able to
They're
do
gonna
that.
say, who is
Yeah.
Maureen? Keep coming to the meetings with ways to spend the money.
Well, hey, better than have it sit on a shelf, right, and just run out without
Well, there
anything
is
to show for it.
there's no resource to replenish this fund.
Yeah,
So
but
that's the
yeah,
hard part, and there's really not enough money there to develop anything.
Right.
Yeah.
but if
It'd be
you
great
could,
to bring a program in though to talk about. I like the idea, Carol. If we had an architect or somebody who would be willing to donate their time to run a program at the senior center, like an evening one or a daytime or both, that we could say, hey, here's the type of things that you could do with this
That you
ADU.
can do. When you see Sam, will you ask her if she knows anyone? Because I think she probably is the person in town who knows the most about it.
Mhm.
Not to derail from your meeting, but just if there's a name, and I'm happy to follow up with someone.
yeah. And maybe even could be a panel or more than one program where
Yeah.
somebody could talk also about some of the things we talked about last time, like co-housing or shared congregate living or different kinds of things that to educate. And I'd be willing to work with you too on that, Carol,
And
if
a
you want.
nice friendly banker who could talk
Yeah.
about loan programs
Money,
and other
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
Not only
Okay.
but ground up builds, but think about there's, you know, pre-built housing that you can
Mhm.
buy. You can buy, and I've been in some of them and they're terrific.
You
Mm,
can
yeah.
print them. They print some houses, some of
Yeah,
the small houses they print. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, all right, well, wow, lots of good stuff churning around here. We're gonna move along, if that's all right with everybody. Um, sure, I put on here just an update to get on the human resources, the service project, anything you want to tell us or ask us or share?
Oh, yes, finally. It was hard getting together with the kids because of the holidays and the like, but we finally got together this week. And the project is a winter care project. So what we're going to be doing is setting up donation sites with the launch at the Martin Luther King event for
Okay.
hats, socks, and gloves.
Oh, nice.
And we're going to do this starting January 20th at the Martin Luther King event. And it's going to run until February 8th, when we're going to ask people in the community to participate in sorting, packaging, and even delivering, if they have a large car. I don't have a big enough car, delivering to some of the places that we will donate. And I did send out an announcement today also saying to folks, if you want to suggest a facility or an organization that might be a recipient, please be sure to let us know, so we'll consider that. But that's going to be the event. And of course, on January 20th, the big Martin Luther King event, and boy, are we going to have music. I have a student choir from Dolbear, and I have an 8-person professional gospel choir. So we have lots of music. We have the usual inspirational speeches from religious and political leaders. We're giving our annual Community Service Award to someone who you all know, you will be very pleased. I was excited. It's someone who is so deserving. I was really excited. And we're going to be making announcements about a Black History Walk in Wakefield, because we were actually on the Underground Railroad. And that's going to be coming this spring as well. So good things going on, but boy, I gotta tell you, everything is way too last minute for me. I would have done this in October. So
Well, it sounds like it came together finally through your
it did. So
good
please get some
elbow grease. What time on,
hats, gloves, socks,
and
and
all men and women and children, all
yes,
sizes? Okay.
yes. And
Do they-
the Martin Luther King Day event is always 10 to noon. We
10
always
to
have a
noon,
little
yeah.
reception afterwards. But like I said, we'll have several weeks after that. We'll have collection sites at the schools, at the AmeriCol, and probably the public safety building, maybe even the library. We have to check and see who is willing to let us put out. Right now, it looks like we're going to be using those giant leaf bags
Okay.
because they don't take up a lot of space as long as we can put some kind of base inside to keep them upright. And we'll put signs on them. And I'm going to be going to Home Depot tomorrow to see if they'll donate some bags. It will cost them nothing and it's free advertising.
Okay,
We could
I
take
think
a,
yeah, that sounds great.
and we could take one here, Sherry, and if you send me a small blurb, I can put it in the February newsletter. That one's not mailed out, but at least it'll be here in the center, and then it does get, emailed out and people
Right. And
subscribe.
actually, you're on my distribution list. So when you check your email, you're going to see an announcement with the details.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we're on to the age-friendly action plan for Wakefield. What's next? And Karen, thank you for that helpful email you wrote to us, to kind of shape, there was a shape to the thinking that, you're asking us for, so I was glad to get that.
Yeah, so it's very interesting because I've been spending a lot of time on the AARP the community portal that we have access to. And the report, so this is just a progress report. We're not rewriting a plan or doing anything like that. And the progress reports range from 50 pages that are more comprehensive than our plan even is to a couple of pages of just little updates. So there's one that I really like that was just put in that I think I would like to model ours after. And it was Westerville, Ohio, but they took each domain and they essentially did a summary of the domain, what they're doing and what their key accomplishments were. I'd like to beef ours up a little bit with here's what our key accomplishments are. Here's the goals we're still working towards to show that kind of progress. But I think that is a nice way of really capturing a lot of the work that we've done within our plan because we have done a lot of work within the plan. But then to also say, here's what we still want to work on, or if there's anything new we could add, a new goal that we may have, or that we may modify a goal because of things that have happened within the town. So that's the way I plan to tackle it. So I was hoping tonight, I don't know if you can share your screen, Susan. It's hard for me on my laptop to share it and still see, or if everybody has access to it. I was thinking we could just go through our 8 domains. So it's pages 7 through.
So the ones with the pictures that you sent us, is that what you're?
Yeah, and our domains are really 7 through like 22 are the domains. Each one is a couple of pages, and it just gives a little summary, what we learned, but then it talks about the action items. So I thought I could read out the action items and we
You're
could talk
talking about
about
the
it.
Excel, you're talking about the spreadsheet.
No, I'm talking about the actual age-friendly plan. The spreadsheet we
Oh,
had
the
done to
actual
say things.
plan. Oh, the plan. Okay.
Yeah,
Let me see.
so
Yeah. Start
Christina
talking
and I
about.
had worked on that Excel sheet that we picked out
Right.
things that
Yep.
we wanted
I
to
know.
focus
Yep.
on.
Yep.
Because this is a progress report for the whole thing, I would like to get people's input on the whole thing. And then after we get this done, I think it would be important to then in turn update our Excel sheet with what we, the Council on Aging, want to focus on, because a lot of this plan is really managed throughout different departments in the town. So that way we can still focus. And tonight we could even pick things that we think we really want to focus on as the Council on Aging. Oh, thank you, Susan. That's perfect. That we could focus on as the Council on Aging. So 2 parts. Tonight, I'd like to just go through the report to get everybody's input. And then at the next meeting, possibly we could pick this is what we want to focus on. And I'll send out my draft to everybody to vote on at the next meeting if it's done.
So do you want me to go right to housing to start?
If everybody's okay with that, I think that's the best way to tackle it.
You can see that, right? You can see this.
Yeah. Prior to this was really a lot of the history and what brought it all together.
Right. Exactly.
Technically started a long time ago, but then COVID hit. So in 2021 is when the plan was actually approved and implemented, and we are designated age friendly. So it's a 5-year plan, but they count the years that you were building your plan towards your 5 years. So it's really reporting on 3 years of action.
Well, there's
So I'm
certainly a lot of housing stuff. So, I mean, we've just spent 20 minutes on housing issues.
Yeah, and I think that might be one of our domains that we want to have be one of our main focuses
Yeah.
we want the board to decide because it's your big one as a board to decide on. But housing, I'm working on getting the updated numbers so that the population, of course, has increased. I'm working on the new housing properties. I believe instead of 8,700, we're up to 11,000. And then I'm going to add in there the information we got from NOAA for the housing production plan of the number of senior houses in Wakefield and the number of projected senior houses. So I'm going to update all of that information with the current data, or at least the 2023 census is what I have to work with.
Jerry,
Yes, as I was reading this, maybe I missed it, but one of the things that's come up in my discussions with seniors when I go to activities is some of them are caring for even older family members, and they were hoping there was some way, central way for them to find out about home care resources for both themselves and for their elderly parents.
So that's in a different domain. So I definitely want to talk about it, but I think
Yeah.
This
we'll
was so
get
they
to
could
that.
stay in their homes. That's why I brought it. I thought it pertained to housing.
It
because-
kind of does. Like a lot of it intertwines through all of them.
Mhm.
But I think in one of the action items, it's specifically addressed in one of the action items.
Okay, then
it'll
we'll
be
put that
like
on
modifications
next
too,
one.
like railings and ramps and stuff, right? A modification. It will be in the
Yeah,
same
that's a good
place.
point. So I'm going to make notes of that, like a resource area for, because within that comment, there's different resources of helping you stay in home with home modifications, in addition to helping you stay
Yeah.
at home with in-home healthcare. So like Mystic Valley Elder Services or private pay in-home health type of things.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised at how many people didn't seem to know that there were lots of places they could get this assistance of different levels of quality and cost, but there are quite a few services available. I know
They
my
really are. And we talk about it a decent amount. So that's what I always worry when I read through some of these and you hear that people don't know is what else can we do to make sure we reach people? Because that's one of, Beth works on that frequently with people talking about different things that are available. We have Mystic Valley who come in and do office hours. We have information tables here with, the resource fair. We had a lot of that. We do want to do a health resource fair in 2025 that I'd bring all of those agencies in. But that's always the big thing, the big nut to crack is how do we get as many people as we can to know this information that we have.
Carol has her hand up.
The other thought I have about that is getting information to primary care doctors, because that's who people often ask about it, and you'd be surprised at how little they know. Or they'll say, go to your senior center, but if we have some kind of resource that we make sure we include the primary care providers who see a lot of seniors, because they get asked that question a lot.
And the social, I mean, the primary care, but also the social work
Yeah,
departments of at least local hospitals, because they're often in the situation of referring resources. But this brings me to thinking about the library as well, the information central at our library. I mean, I don't know this, but if somebody goes into the library and talks to the reference librarian, are there resources, because we had talked about this in the plan somewhere, are there resources in place right now for people to find out more about this stuff when they need it? Because this is stuff you don't really find out about until you need it. And then when you need it, there's usually, some distress involved, particularly often anyway. But my point is about the library as a resource. And how could we collaborate, the senior center collaborate with the library to make information available to people, because we don't want to appear to be endorsing anything, especially private pay services, right? We can't recommend.
right. I think Mystic
Mystic
Valley
Valley is
Elder
really-
Services does a nice job of having resources all collaborated, so people, collated, so people just need to get to them and somebody can help direct them. I mean, in my other life as a social
Mhm.
worker and working in the healthcare field, we often partnered with Mystic Valley to provide that kind of information. Karen, is that, I'm sure you must
Yeah.
also, yeah.
So we have all of that. So probably the best thing, instead of trying, I was just talking to the library about this, like it's hard to maintain and keep up a lot of current
Yeah,
information. So I
yeah.
think the best bit is referring people, oh, go to the senior center. I mean, we have office hours to provide this kind of information. We have all this information. We do this every single day. It's just getting people to know, just call your senior center and they can help you with all of this. This is our business.
What is this,
The
if,
social
and
services
this,
side.
what you're saying true for private pay people too? Karen, people that aren't eligible for subsidies of different sorts?
I don't think I understand what you're asking.
Well, a lot of the services in my experience anyway, that are delivered through Elder Services, Merrimack Valley or Mystic Valley are subsidized services, government subsidized for people that are eligible.
They are.
But
So if somebody wasn't eligible and they wanted help with that, then we don't refer to anybody in particular, but we can share with them, oh, we have ABC Home Health, we have Home Instead, we have,
yeah,
here are the
okay,
different
okay.
resources. So we don't recommend anybody, but we can
Yeah,
share with
no, I know
them
you can't really do
some
that, but
levels of what they
right.
have. And we bring them in for different talks. So, Bear Hill has come in and provided information on their stuff. I want to host, my goal is every year to have a senior resource fair with the town type of agencies, but also have one for the
Mhm.
healthcare type of thing so that people could come in and learn about all the different things that are in our area that they could potentially benefit from. But Mystic Valley is always the first place to start because you don't know if you qualify until you know. So they're the best people. They're not going to just turn somebody away if they that you don't qualify for subsidized, but here's other options as well. So Mystic Valley referral is really the number one thing.
One of the things that I believe is in place is the town sometimes or does have information packets or ways of being a citizen in Wakefield where many questions can be identified from, when your trash pickup is to schools and things like that. And I'm wondering if they already have something in place about needs of seniors or needs of this population.
So I think what might help us is if we go through the domains, the
Okay.
action items that we talked about, because I think we might go off the rails quickly if we, I think it might help if we just go through the action items and talk about them as they come. And then if we want to add anything, I'll take notes of everything, of course. But we're all
Okay, so-
passionate about it. So I think we can tend to go in a million different directions.
Yeah.
So if everybody's okay with it, I'm going to try and keep us focused on going through the action items for the domains.
All right,
So
so you want to
page-
go to
Page
transportation then?
8, the top of page 8 is where we talk about the action, current, and continuous.
I don't see page numbers. Where are the page numbers? Oh, 7,
So
okay.
there you are.
Done.
You're there. So
Okay,
that's where we start. So each of them, the first page is really kind of the history, and then the second page is where we start to talk about the action, current, and continuous. So what our items were.
mhm.
And a lot of these things are things that we're doing. So it's if we have anything that we want to add into it or that we think was not beneficial. So working with local banks, we have done some programming regarding local banks, talking about loans and things like that, but that is something that we want to have be ongoing. So we haven't done a talk on reverse mortgages, for example. We haven't done a talk on home equity loans. So those are things I can work with local banks to have them come in and do some presentations for us. So we have had some of those. That I think is an ongoing accomplishment that we want to have be continuous programming that we offer.
Does see more in there for renters as well, some of the things that we've talked about, because there are a lot of renters.
That's a
And
great
much
idea.
of this is about home ownership, so. And that certainly our participation on both the affordable housing and the housing production is important, I would think, to mention here. Somewhere anyway, in this domain.
Mhm. All right, so we'll hit them one at a time here. So then the work with Wakefield Housing Authority on presenting informational programs. So we do that already. So I think that's something that we want to continue that partnership and bringing housing in once or twice a year to
Mhm.
talk about Wakefield Housing Authority and the Wakefield housing that we offer. Maureen, what are your thoughts on that?
Hold on, I'm on mute every time everyone's walking around my house behind me. So no, that's fine. We're willing to come and have discussions. And I mean, the last one I thought went pretty well. We didn't get a ton of people come, but the cookies were fabulous and we helped the 3 people that were there. So we'll bring our laptops and we're more than willing to do that. Whatever you need, that's good for us too.
Okay. And then the third bullet, the pursue options to help those with lower moderate incomes to access tax reduction. So we do that already. We have the senior tax work-off program that's run through the senior center, and we do a lot of advertising for the circuit breaker matching that Wakefield does. So encouraging people, don't forget to apply for your circuit breaker tax and then make sure you apply here. So we do a lot of advertising around that. So I consider that as an ongoing program. And this year, to add to it, we're going to hand out flyers, have our AARP tax preparers that come every tax season here to the senior center and do taxes for free, to hand those out to anybody, the Wakefield information out to anybody who they've applied for the circuit breaker credit, to make sure they remember to come back in August and September to the assessor's office and apply for their Wakefield match. So that to me is ongoing. I don't know if anybody has anything they would like to add to that or input about that. And some of these you may not have input on. It's just I thought it'd be nice for all of us to review it and get your ideas, because I love the idea about add more info for renters, because you're right, Susan, this is a lot of that seems homeowner specific.
Yeah, and even the, the circuit breaker, even a lot of people who rent don't even think they're eligible for the circuit breaker, but they are, or they could be. So that, expanding the educational options as well for renters. I mean, they're not eligible for the tax, the work-off program, but they are the so yeah, let's get renters in there.
Okay. So the other domains, the same, that the engage representatives on all levels of the need for affordable housing. That's advocacy that doesn't necessarily just fall on with us. That I know is done through Mass Council on Aging, Executive Council on Elder Affairs for the senior population to push that. I know that Carol and I pushed that with the Housing Production Plan people. So I think that's just continuing advocacy as the COA board and as our participation in MCOA to continue advocacy for that.
And then, yeah, the third one down, or fourth one, promote the availability of all businesses, including both for-profit and nonprofit, that help with aging issues from healthcare to shopping, sort of related to what we were talking about earlier, Jim's question as well, about, how do people get to resources?
Yeah, and I actually did put a big question mark next to that one and say it might be a good thing to partner with the chamber for
Yeah.
Wakefield, but then we need to include some surrounding communities too, for what specific services were there. The chamber, it looks like, wasn't involved necessarily in the last planning of the
I
age
don't think
friendly
they were.
plan. So I'm reaching out to Sam to see what her thoughts are and if we should see if we can invite a representative from the chamber to join us next when I meet with the key stakeholders.
Would you
And
add,
the work with high school, all these other things the housing we really have been doing, all of these items that are in here.
can I just make a suggestion? Could we add on that promote the availability of all businesses where it says from healthcare? Can you say to home care to shopping? Because that way that is part of healthcare and it's just more explicit.
Mhm.
So if you could say,
Sure.
okay, if you could add that term home care to shopping.
Yeah, and I'm not updating the actual plan, but when we are writing our progress, I can make sure that we include that that's part of what our goal is and that that's what we're doing. And we don't have to go through necessarily every domain if everybody doesn't want to today. I've got notes on some of the key ones that I think we really want to highlight. And transportation is another big one that I think is important for us to really highlight.
All right, so I'm on the recommendation on transportation. That's the top of this page right now.
Yeah, so for our van services progress that I've noted is we've increased our hours again, that twice a week we have a couple of drivers, and we figured out ways to maximize our shopping trips. For example, we've added scheduled market basket times so that we can get as many people shopping that need to go shopping. On a different note, I'm actually going to be submitting a request to try and purchase a handicapped accessible van with the capital improvement projects. So I don't know if we'll get picked or not from the town, but I think we would benefit from having a handicapped accessible van that we could use for medical appointments to increase our capacity to do the shopping and other things. I meant to say that in my director's report. One thing that we haven't really done, unless anybody knows of, are identifying partnerships with local health provider agencies to help with additional costs. I have not found any, other than the VA, for veterans, any agencies that help people pay for their transportation to their medical appointments.
Well, some Medicare Advantage programs do, but that's, I don't know how you would, if people would have to find out from what, if they have a Medicare Advantage program, they'd have to find out from their insurance company, I guess, or the Shine counselors could help them with that, maybe. Because, so,
Oh, sorry, please go ahead.
no, I know you had your hand up, Carol, too, so, but that might be, so there may be some, at least checking out with the Shine program, how to help some people figure out if transportation costs are covered for medical appointments.
Medicare as well as Medicaid and the accountable care organizations
Mhm.
people are part of. We, when we ran a program at the hospital, we used a lot of that to help people
Yeah.
pay for transportation to medical appointments. So we can probably, put that in a to be expanded and find out some more information. I'm happy to contact people and find out about that if that would help.
I think that's more of an educational piece versus the
Yeah,
one that
down
we're
the
going to be in
road.
direct control of, but we
Yeah.
could educate
Yep.
people on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And some of these things may be things that we were throwing a lot of stuff out, like, oh yeah, we could do this, this, and this. And then once you are operating on it, you realize some are just educational pieces that really aren't something
Right,
you're
right.
going to be directly in charge of.
well, we can't, I mean, there's a capacity issue too, in terms of what's possible. One of the things I thought that is progress is that you were able to get a full-time activities person, and I don't know where, under what domain that fits, but it's certainly part of helping Wakefield become more age-friendly care, and I hope there's a place to put something like that in, or to put that in, because it does expand capacity for programming, it expands capacity for service delivery. And anyway, enough said. But I think that's
So-
I noticed that they have, reference, of course, to safe streets in terms of traffic crossings. But I think, again, the sidewalks are really a matter of mobility and transportation, and they're not very safe.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk with DPW about that at our key stakeholder meetings with the town departments and to ask about what's the reporting system available to people if they have a concern about a sidewalk. So that's so that seniors would know, I feel unsafe on this sidewalk. Is there someplace they can go for reporting that? But that's, I see our role in that is showing what can we tell, how do we refer seniors to go to the correct people to try and fix that problem?
Well, you had your hand up when we were talking about vans. I just want to make sure that either you said what you wanted to say, or was there something you want to add? No? Carol, you?
No,
No?
thank
Okay,
you.
okay. Okay, I don't want to think I was ignoring you. Karen, where would you like to go? I mean, where would,
I think next we can go on to outdoor spaces and buildings. Unless anybody has anything else to add for transportation that they want to add into what because I think everybody got a chance to review it, right? I don't know if you made notes or thought of any things that stood out at you when you were reading it. So the recommendations to ensure needs of older adults and disabled individuals are considered in park design and programs. I believe that a lot of these things are being done with the benches, with, the new path around the newly paved sidewalks around the lake, for example. And we are consider the Council on Aging. There's always somebody requests that Council on Aging member be present at these new, the master plan, the outdoor space plan, all the new plans we are considered. So I think that we've made strides for age friendly, that Council on Aging are considered key stakeholders when the town is developing these plans. So I think as far as that goes, that's our main role in that, is to make sure that we're still considered key stakeholders to give our input. And there's a big one that I'm going to highlight, that the work with town on possibility of permanent restrooms around the lake, since that is approved and bathrooms are being built at Veterans Field at some point. So that's a big highlight I'm going to put in our report, because I think that's a big one.
The bathrooms, I think that's a great idea.
But yeah, since that one's primarily DPW, I see that as our main role. Social participation is definitely in our wheelhouse on page 14. And this one, I was going to highlight a lot of the things that we do, and things that I thought of are Wakefield 101, that we continue to be represented there, the senior resource fair, that become an annual event, in addition to the home and health services resource fair, that we bring in all of the different agencies who would love to come in. They ask me all the time, so I want to put something together to bring them in as well.
So do you think that's something that might happen in the spring? The resource fair?
Yeah, I think the resource fair, I was waiting to have it once we opened upstairs.
I know, yeah,
So
I
more
know.
to come if I know a timeline on that. But yeah, the spring would be the ideal time to have it. And then maybe the healthcare one in the summer or the fall. So if you guys want to read through it quick and see if there's anything you think that I'm missing, this is stuff that we do on a regular basis. So it's just building on these programming that we're offering.
Right, well, this might be the place also to put the Good Neighbor Day situation, and I'll send you some more information just to remind you what it was. But it's the Mass Coalition to Build Communities and End Isolation. And it's a coalition that keeps growing and growing, and that's their focus again this year, is to have that Good Neighbor Day in the summer, early fall. And it does help with social isolation, social engagement.
Civic participation and employment. One thing I'm going to work on here in the center is to have a community board that we can put things like the affordable housing units that go up for lottery, to publish when we have board openings in the town if people want to participate in that. So there's a central hub for seniors who may not get the email blast from the town or see in the paper. It's the same thing, of a lot of this information goes out of how to participate, but I know we're not reaching everybody. So just one more way to potentially reach some people is to say, oh, there's an opening on the Human Rights Commission. Are you interested in being on the Human Rights Commission? To make sure seniors know that they would be a valuable addition to the board or the commission, and that they know that might be available to them.
You get a lot of requests, people looking for, besides town volunteering, looking for other kinds of volunteer opportunities. I mean, people come in, they say, I want to volunteer somewhere.
Not a lot. We get some. We have a lot of seniors who volunteer for certain things like newsletters. We're going to be
At
actively
the
looking.
senior center, yeah, but no, I'm
Yeah, at the
talking
senior
also
center.
about people that, might want to go volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club, or go into the schools and read to kids, or something, just there seems to be a lot in the Wakefield community group, people asking for a different volunteer, not just seniors necessarily, but people looking for volunteer ops.
Yeah, we could let people know if they wanted to put the flyers up here for volunteer
Yeah.
opportunities, that we would let them post them here. If
Yeah.
somebody asked me they could volunteer with the schools, I would refer them to the schools. But if the schools are looking for somebody, then I would be very willing to put up a flyer. We get occasionally requests from different hospice agencies, people looking for friendly visitors, that will hang that up in case somebody's interested.
I'm moving ahead, is that all right? I'm not trying to shortchange anything, I just wanna.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Because a lot of it is stuff that we're doing. So it was just, I wanted everybody to get a chance to review it and see if anything really stood out at you to say, I want to do this, I don't want to do this. I don't know how many of you use the Wakefield's website to see the ease. I find it easy to navigate, but I don't know, but I live in it. So I don't know if it's easy for people who don't live in it like I do if it's easy to navigate. Because that was part of our action plan, was to create an age-friendly website. And Jen
Right.
McDonald does a great job with putting stuff on there. But I'm curious what others' thoughts are, if there's anything you think you would like us to add to the webpage, or if you use our webpage for anything.
I think the page is great. I'm just wondering about, is there access for people with other languages with, that appreciates the cultural
Mhm.
diversity in the town? And can people, is anything being done that we should be taking credit for on this already impressive list? About
Okay.
how to access other, people who speak different languages?
That's a great point. Thank you. So circling back to the library. So we had, when this first kicked off a few years ago, I guess there was a section in the library that was an age-friendly information resource library. And that's really, it's kind of gone away. We haven't done much with it. It wasn't getting a lot of foot traffic. So it's something that I don't know what all of your thoughts are and if there is value to have it. We could try and maintain it and then figure out what things we think are the most key information pieces to have there. Since we're not at the library, I'd have to dedicate somebody to be able to go over there every week or so to make sure things aren't totally outdated. Or we could keep it basic with, train schedules and things that aren't necessarily even COA things. Or
Yeah,
we could move on from having it there and just have our newsletter at the library. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on having, the library reached out to me saying, do you still want to have this? Because it's not updated. So it's not something they're going to update. So it'll be something that we would have to maintain.
yeah.
And I'm trying to decrease how many different locations we're maintaining a lot of stuff because I don't want to have just outdated things, but I'm happy to take it on if you all think that there's some value in having a resource area at the library for senior center specific things. Here, lists like having housing applications, bus schedules, insurance information, fuel applications, like the fuel
me, it's like
applications we're doing here physically in the senior center.
It's coordination of information. It's coordination and, so that people don't have to go to 6 different places to get an answer. So that, or to get a resource. So I don't necessarily, especially in this day and age, see the value of having a lot of brochures or flyers or applications or anything in any one place because other than maybe on a bulletin board, but as to where to go if you want to apply for housing or if you want to apply for volunteer, you want to find a volunteer job, so I'm not personally, it's very labor intensive to try to keep a brochure rack full with current information. It's just an almost impossible task. It's having, the website, I mean, an age-friendly website that's a lot of work too, but in terms of how people find things, it's where a lot of people would go to look for things. It's where a lot of the children of some of the older people in Wakefield, I'm sure, would go to look for things if that was possible. So when I asked before, Karen, I wasn't asking about like, we need to build this paper intensive thing up. Absolutely not. But it's human services and the library and the senior center and, the various places, just like you're doing now with all the conversations that are being had with different town departments and stuff, so that everybody has a similar message about where to go when you need resources or help or information.
Okay.
At the very least, I think we should have copies of the newsletter, because as you said,
Yeah.
Susan, the children of people who are older, don't get those newsletters.
No, they don't.
And would be good if they saw that and read them on behalf of their children who might not, their parents who may not be paying
Yeah.
attention.
Good
Yeah,
point.
and we do
Good.
keep the newsletters there. So that's what I was thinking too. And the nice thing with the senior center is when you call, you get a person who actually answers the phone. So you can ask a question. You don't have to go through a phone tree and try and pick what you're going to pick to get help. You call, you talk to somebody, and we can say, "Oh yeah, you need fuel assistance? Come here. This is what we can have you come and do." So they can get you direct to either Beth, me, or whoever you need for those resources.
And there is, I don't know if you refer people to it, but there's a 211, which is a phone number that you can call in Massachusetts and get referrals for different things. And there's a variety of, other resources that exist. Elder Services Merrimack Valley used to publish something called the Green Book. Carol, yeah, you're nodding. I mean, it was a paper book, but it was just chock full of resources for seniors of all different sorts. They don't do it anymore because nobody does print anymore.
Salem, Mass does a cool thing that I would like to explore doing. That any resident that turns 60 and over, they essentially get this book that Salem has. I don't want to put together a book, but I think it might be a cool thing if we did a letter of, with a newsletter of, well, congratulations on turning
Oh,
60. We want to introduce you to the Wakefield Senior Center and this wonderful benefit that's available to you now that you are 60. I just have to figure out how we know when people turn 60 to do something like that. So I might reach out to Salem to see how do they get that list and how do they maintain it to know when to mail how they mail their books out, how the working part of
does
that
the town
process.
census have the data from the town census?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So I may reach
Um,
out to them. I thought it would be a nice introduction to the senior center for people
Yeah, I
to
think
get
it's
a
a great
letter.
idea. It's a great idea.
And then I like the idea of the ageism day, so we can continue to offer age-friendly, not just age-friendly, but the age-aware, right? That so that people are, the senior center is not just a place for quote unquote old people to come,
Right,
which is
right.
still that misconception that we try, and the people who are here know that it's not true. But how do you get the people who don't come here to realize that you might find something that you like here if you gave it a try? The age is just a number. It's not indicative to what your physical, mental, and recreational state is.
Right.
So I don't know if anybody wanted us to try and add anything to that section, or if you feel comfortable that we captured most of it. And then we only have a couple to go. Sorry, I know it's late. The community support and health services, there's a lot of partnership with the health department for promoting community health. We've been working with Melrose Wakefield to bring in the different educational programs. So we also work with some of the home health agencies that also offer things like that. And we have a couple of things coming up in February and March on heart health and healthy sleeping habits and things like that. So we'll continue to offer those using Melrose Wakefield Hospital is a great resource for that. And Leahy has also contributed some things for us too. Like Leahy runs our bereavement support group, for example.
Mm.
And then, of course, to continue to engage in healthy activities with our exercise classes, our lunches. We may want to include some of the healthy eating programming by bringing in more nutritionists and people like that to talk about healthy eating.
Yeah.
In our last one, and I can bring out some of the data when I do the progress report, is on the respect and social inclusion. That was the survey that we've already given the results to everybody too, that our intern worked on with Catherine Dinger here at the senior center and then throughout town. And I guess the one, not to keep going back to it, but the one thing that seems to always come up in different surveys is people saying, oh, I just don't know what's available. I don't know what things are out there to do. So it's always that I don't know what other ways we can do it. So we're always open for suggestions. We have the newsletter, we use the newspaper, we use the email information blast from the town, we use the kiosk. So I'm always open for ideas if anybody can think of another way to try and get the word out there to people. But all the ways that I can think of, we're doing. I don't know what other ways there might be. Maybe through church bulletins, if church would be willing to put something out for us.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it, but the West End Social Club, does anybody know anything about the West End Social Club?
I know that they very graciously gave me their space to host our McDonald Funeral Home presentation because 70 people came to it and we didn't have enough space.
Okay.
So they very graciously let us use their hall.
I mean, I just wonder if they would be a place to have some newsletters over there or something to publicize the senior center activities. And I know it's an all, I went to a concert there once, like a folk night, but I don't know anything about it, but they seem to have a lot of things going on there.
I'm hoping our open house might capture some people who have parents that might want to come We're going to do the
Yeah.
one for the seniors during the day, and then one in the evening for the rest of the community. So I'm
Okay.
hoping that might get word of mouth out there of, oh, you should actually go check it out, Mom. It's actually, they have a lot to offer. And if anybody thinks of anything, I'm going to be starting to work on the report this month and hope to have a
Okay.
draft to send to everybody by early February, so we have it before the next meeting. But if anybody wants to reach out to me individually to go over anything or send me an email on something that stands out to you on this age-friendly plan, please feel free to do so. And I would like us either in February or March to maybe pick our areas that we as the COA board want to focus on. If the board wants to do that. I think that was a nice idea that Christina did with me, that we said, yeah, these are the things that we really can influence, and if there's a program we want to offer, like Susan, for example, if we want to really take on the Good Neighbor Day as an
Yeah, I
event that
mean,
the COA
yeah.
board sponsors.
Or do we want, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that we have to do something, but we talked about it, so.
Yeah.
And then, I'm thinking about, what keeps people from coming to the senior center? There's lots of reasons. But where this would be not a buddy system, because that's too much work, but some kind of, maybe there could be some formation of like senior center ambassadors or something, that when new members or new people come, and I know Mary Ann and Catherine and anybody there would do a great job if talking to people at the front desk, but some people may be shy, they may be hesitant, they may be, confused about, well, what do I do? So I come to an exercise class, nobody talks to me, and then I leave, and now what do I do? What do I do? So if there was a follow-up call, and I'd be willing to make these calls, follow-up call from somebody from the senior center, oh, we're so glad you came, and just engage them a little bit. It's aspirational, Karen, but it might be some kind of something to think about. Ambassadors, buddy system, um, membership friend, something like that.
I want to say I'm at the senior center a lot, as
I know
Karen
you are, yeah.
knows, and I participate a lot. And I have always found everybody in all the classes I've gone to and activities to be incredibly welcoming and friendly, because people are looking for contact. And I sometimes, I'm supposed to be home and I'm still standing there 20 minutes after a class talking to people because everyone is still hanging out. So there really doesn't seem to be a problem for the people who choose to go. It's those who don't get there that we need to be concerned about.
Also,
Yeah.
I think, Sherry, you're a very extroverted person. And I think that I would expect that it would be like that for you, but I wonder, because I'm not an extroverted person, and I'm not sure that it would be like that for everybody. So I'm not denying what you're saying, but I think there are different types of people that come. And some people may need a little bit more nudging and a little bit more warm invitation. Because do you find people anyway, there may be something in the middle. And
One thing I'm hoping to add, if we are able to have the social worker intern maybe next year come in, if Carol's still willing to work and we find a social work student who wanted to come here, I would like to have that person take on 2 projects, one being to set up a friendly visitor program. And that might be where we have the phone calls, where we have visitors that we are going out to people who don't come to the senior center to give them a visit. And that may be a way that eventually it might be somebody who says, oh, maybe I will come in, even though it's not my comfort zone to come in and do something at the senior center, even for a meal or whatever. And the other thing I envision doing that will help us for our next, as we continue to evolve with our age-friendly programming, a needs assessment survey. We've been talking about that for a while, and we've gotten a lot of surveys under the belt now. So in the next year, it might be a good way we could have a nice intern help us to do a needs assessment survey to see where we want to focus future programming. And that will be data that we could use for our next progress report in 3 years.
And one of your other ideas, if I remember, that was great, Karen, about about an intern, was the idea of a roommate matching system, for people who might be looking for a roommate and how to vet that. So that would be great. What I was thinking about in this domain was around the new people coming into Wakefield, people who are moving in with a child or an adult child who've come from somewhere else. And, do we work with realtors, other people who know who's new coming into
Mhm.
town and find a way to kick off that welcome in a very personal way, or that there's some event that's, you know, mother, daughter, mother, parent, child, whatever, that where you can introduce people. And then my other thought was, and you may already do it because you do so many wonderful things, is where people who come to the senior center regularly, there's a day where they bring a friend who's never been before. And then there's, you know, some kind of raffle, or there's free lunch, or there's some great entertainment for Bring a Friend Day. So that you're leveraging the people who are already there and bring, you know, maybe reluctantly, but bring somebody with them.
Yeah, I love that idea, right? Bring a parent, bring a friend, and then
Right,
we
bring
could
a
do some
parent,
kind
bring
of-
a friend, bring a daughter, bring whoever.
So,
love
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
And my other idea, since we were talking about in the future, and you may also do this, when we were talking about loneliness, knowing that depression is one of the biggest drivers of loneliness, do we do I think it's in October, the National Depression Screening Day, when you have, I'm happy to do it, I'm sure Jim could do it, or Mystic Valley, you just do depression screening. And then if people screen in, then there's a protocol for where you refer them to. But that in the mental health world is the biggest driver of social isolation and loneliness. So kind of
Mm.
getting to the source. I think it's October 6th or something. So I'd be happy to join with my other mental health colleagues I know who are on this board to take that on if that's of interest.
That's definitely of interest. I think that's a program I would love to work with you on to
Yeah,
develop.
okay, great.
We have Mystic Valley. They come in once a month right now, and it's their critical intervention team that comes in. And that was
Yeah.
one of my concerns when they came in. And I said, I'm okay if I bring you in here, but my concern is if somebody comes in and they have a concern, what's the wait list? Are you going to tell them they have to wait 18 months before they can see a provider?
Yeah,
Or are you able to
right.
link them to a provider? So it's something that I've been wanting to add to our programming to have that. So I think that would be a nice goal for the October timeframe.
so many wonderful ideas, so many possibilities. It's prioritizing them and putting them in a time frame that is gonna work and make, create success. But boy, there's a lot that goes on there, Karen, as you know.
So I will work on the progress report. I'm going to work at my meeting in a couple of weeks with the key stakeholder for the town. And I will send my draft out to everybody for anybody's input. And again, please feel free to reach out to me for any ideas that you have. If you don't want to share them tonight, or something sticks out with you if you read it in the future, please share that with me. It's important to me, your input. And we'll go from there. And then I think in the near future, we'll prioritize the board goals of what we want to focus on within the plan. And that could change, right? We could focus on 2 this year and then pick 2 different ones for next year to keep it manageable, because everybody I know is very busy.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in here and listening and talking and sharing. It's a longer meeting than I expected, but appreciate the caring that goes into it and you staying on board. And Cam's probably in bed by now, right? Julie, wherever you are. I'm gonna stop the share.
Karen, thank you for all of all the information.
Thank you to all of you. I'm very sorry to keep you so late and to go through each page like that, but I appreciate I really value all of your input. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate all of you.
Nice
Everyone?
job, Karen. Are we all ready for a motion to adjourn?
Is that what you're making, Maureen? Yes.
Sure. Motion to adjourn.
Second,
Jim second, all in favor? Do we have to do a roll call on this? No.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
for
Yeah.
all the votes. Yep.
Okay, Sherry,
Yes.
Susan, yes. Jim,
yes.
Christina,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Carol.
Yes.
All in favor, everybody, thank you. Motion is passed. We are adjourned at 7:56. And Stay warm, everybody. Do your best.
Thanks.